The outermost layer of the hair strand is the cuticle. Now, the cuticle is what we call a scale like scales. So, think of gills on a fish, that kind of appearance where it has that scaly look, and they're transparent. So, what does that mean? It means that they're see through. How do you see the color of someone's hair strands? Because remember, the color is in the cortex of the hair. And if you have transparent scales around, the color is reflecting through the transparent scales. So, when someone says their hair is resistant, all that means is that the cuticles are shut, which means it's going to be a little more difficult to get them to open up for the chemicals to go through. And that's not a bad thing because cuticles act as a protectant for the cortex, right? So, why is it important to know the structure of the hair strand? Because anytime you're applying chemicals, whether it be color or perms, it is permanently affecting the structure of that hair. So now you know the cuticle is the outermost layer, it's transparent, and I like to use the example of someone standing in the middle and there's a group of people circling around them and they come around that person and just hug that person. So they're like protecting the person that's in the middle. So that's one way to think of it. The cuticle is your protector. So it won't just let anything in, but that's why it's important not to damage your cuticle scales. So if you're flat ironing your hair every day and your hair starts to appear frizzy, that's because you're damaging the cuticle scales, which means you don't have as much protection for the core of your hair. And the core of your hair, which is the cortex, is where everything takes place. The color, the melanin, the strength of your hair is in the cortex. Now we get to the cortex. So the cortex is where your melanin is. Remember, we talked about this. There's eumelanin and there's pheomelanin. Pheomelanin is the reds, the blondes, and eumelanin is the dark brown, the black melanin that's being produced within the core of the hair. So when the cuticle is open up, if you apply permanent waving solution or relaxer or permanent hair color, all these chemicals are going beneath the scales of the hair and penetrating into the core of the hair, whether it's removing some of the color out of that person's hair and depositing artificial color, or going into the core of the hair and breaking down bonds that would make that hair curl around a perm rod or permanently go straight. The cortex of the hair is very important because once you damage that, your hair will not be the same until that hair strand grows out or you've cut it off. The last part of the hair strand is the medulla. Now here's what's always baffled me is that the medulla really doesn't necessarily play a part. And if you read in your textbook, it says that it isn't affected by perms. And fine hair does not have a medulla. And I think in somewhere one of these chapters it says blonde hair. But don't quote me on that. The main thing that concerns me is that we have this part in the hair. It's not in everyone's hair, but no one knows what the purpose of the medulla is. Even if you look it up online, there's no scientific definite purpose, but it is there. And I guess they just wanted to mention that, the medulla. So now you know the parts and the structure of the hair strand. The cuticle, which is transparent, scale-like cells that protect the cortex. The cortex, where everything is happening, the strength, the color, the bonds, all of that is happening when you apply a perming solution or relaxer. And then you have the medulla. The next thing I want to talk about is the pH scale. Now, I'm not going to get into too much detail about that because I do believe I spoke about this in my chemistry, water, and pH video. So after this video, watch that video just kind of to reiterate what I'm telling you. But this is a reminder on the pH scale. It goes from 0 to 14, 0 being the lowest In the middle is 7, which is neutral, and then 14, which is the most alkaline. So remember, 0 to 6 is your acid. No, backtrack. 0 to 6.9. And then remember, 7 is neutral, which is water. And then from 7.1 to 14 is your alkaline. Now, why is it important to know these things? Because remember, the chemicals that you're applying to the hair have certain pHs, like for example, relaxers between 11 to 14 on the alkaline side. So that means it's pretty strong. That means if it's left on the hair long enough, it can actually dissolve the hair off. Now, what is our pH again? It's 4.5 to 5.5. So remember, the perms that you're using, even if it's an acidic perm, permanent wave solution, it still could range like 7.2 to 8 something, even though it's called an acid perm. It's less alkaline than the alkaline perm, but it's still on the alkaline side. So what does that mean for us? It means that these chemicals are damaging, and you have to know how to work with them, and you have to know how to maintain the integrity of someone's hair when you're applying chemicals. And that's all I have for you today, guys. Remember, I am going to be demonstrating the soft perm. I'm just waiting for my neutralizer. It's taken forever here. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about chemistry of the perms. And then I'll break it up a little and show how to roll a perm. And then I'll do some other videos just so you don't get bored with the perming section, because this is a long chapter, but it is important for you guys to know. You know, a lot of times people think that it's easy to do hair, and no insults thrown, but when you don't have the proper training on how to do hair and you're just slapping chemicals on someone's hair, and then you're not really recommending professional products, you don't know the damage that you're doing to people's hair. And then a licensed person has to go behind that person to fix the damage that was done. So why not just learn about it right now the right way? And study, study, study. Don't just rely on my videos or rely on 1 hour of theory with your teacher in school. It's up to you, the student, and the person who's willing to learn cosmetology, to study on your own, guys. No one can do it better than you can. My job is to lead you there, but then it's your job to walk through the door. God bless you guys, and thank you so much for supporting my channel and watching my videos. Bye.
Get in here, you wild buck.